Chapter 23. Hank was waiting for me at the motel when I got back from school. "What are you doing home so early?" I asked him. Usually he didn't get home until well past 6. The cops came around to the gas station. They started asking me questions. "Asking my employer," he said. "And?" I asked him. He stared into the tiny lines of the front desk wood. "And my boss freaked out and fired me." I felt the floor beneath me open up and swallow me whole. "What? But you didn't do anything wrong." "Doesn't matter. The boss said it was bad for business having the cops poke around." Hank pulled out a crumbled $100 bill from his pocket and slid it across the desk. "This here is my last paycheck," he said. I looked at the bill on the table. "What are you going to do?" I asked him. He didn't say anything. He just gazed out the window at the leaves in the pool. "Hank," I said loudly, "you have to fight this." Hank shook his head. "You don't get it, kid," he said. "I've been fighting my whole life. I'm done. It's no use fighting. People are going to be the way they're going to be." After Hank went back to his room, I searched the kitchen for canned goods. If that was his last paycheck and he'd given it to us, he was going to need all the help he could get. I was in the middle of rummaging through our fridge when I heard a knock on the door. It was the security guard from the Topaz Inn 2 doors down. A Chinese guy, about my parents' age, probably second or third generation, from the confident way he spoke English. "Open up, I gotta talk to you," he hollered. I buzzed him in. "Heard you guys got a little visit from the cops," he said. A sly grin stretched across his face. The Topaz Inn people did not like us, and we didn't like them. To say that we had a little rivalry was an understatement. Every day they tried to undercut our prices. They had a bigger motel, so naturally they had more rooms. But we had a better location, being the first motel on our block. You had to drive past us to get to the Topaz Inn, which drove them nuts. The Topaz people came up with all kinds of ridiculous tactics to get back at us, including one time when they had one of their people stand a few blocks up with a sign that said, "Don't stay at the Cavalista. It's full of roaches. Stay at the Topaz." Mr. Yao happened to be driving by that day. When he saw what they were doing, he went straight to Ralph's, bought a dozen eggs, and hurled them at the sign. So it was quite a shock to see the Topaz security guard standing here in our lobby. "What do you want?" I asked him. "Look, I know we've had our differences over the years," he said, "but in light of what's happened, I've come to offer a truce." I stared at him. "A truce?" He nodded. "What happened over here last night was a tragedy," he said. "We were so upset when we heard about it." "Really?" I said. "I would have thought they'd be celebrating." "Really," he said. "Now look, it's in neither of our interests if bad people stay at our motels. It gives the area a terrible rep, and business suffers. So why don't we do this?" He pulled out a piece of paper. "This here is a list of all the bad people we've checked in the last month," he said. I peered curiously at his list. "I'm sure you have a few names of your own you'd like to add," he said. I did, starting with the drunk guy. "So here's what we're going to do. You tell me the names of your bad people, and I'll tell you the names of our bad people. I'm going to show the list to the Lagoon Motel people and the other stores on our street, so we're all in on it. And if anybody from the list calls looking for a room, we'll tell them the same thing. No vacancy. How's that?" I nodded. Sounded like a plan. I thought back to all the things that had happened these last few weeks. We could sure use more safety around here. "Alrighty then," he said. He took out his pen, and I took out my dad's big ledger with all the customers' names and information. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," I said. He grinned, revealing a mouthful of yet very yellow teeth. "Let's start with last month. Give me the names of all the black customers who have come through here in the last month," he said. I slammed the ledger shut. "Get out," I said, pointing at the door. "Hey, no need to get worked up," he said, holding his hands out. "I'm just trying to help." "Get out," I repeated. "Suit yourself." He huffed as he walked out, stuffing his list into his pocket. "But don't come crying at me when this place gets robbed again," which it will.